The sound of the lunchroom was deafening, metal trays clanging, kids shouting across tables, sneakers squeaking against the linoleum floor. But for Aaliyah James, all of it blurred into a low, muffled hum, like the world was playing in the background and she was trapped inside her own bubble. Her hands gripped a small carton of chocolate milk so tight her knuckles turned pale. She hated this lunch line. Not because of the weight, but because it made her feel exposed, stuck in the open, an easy target. It had been 3 months since she'd transferred to Brookridge High. 3 months of learning the unspoken rules, the silent territories you weren't supposed to cross, and the way some kids could make your life miserable without ever throwing a punch. She had moved here with her mom after her grandmother passed away. They needed a fresh start, her mom said. But a new school wasn't a clean slate, it was a battlefield, and Aaliyah was already outnumbered. She felt the shift in the air before she even heard the voice. "Hey, new girl," the words dripped with fake sweetness, like honey laced with venom. She turned. There they were, Maddie, the self-proclaimed queen of Brookridge, tall and sharp-featured, with bleach blonde hair pulled into a perfect high ponytail. Beside her stood Brooke, broad-shouldered with a permanent scowl, and Sierra, who laughed at everything Maddie said as if it was the funniest thing in the world. Aaliyah said nothing. She had learned early on that speaking back only made things worse. "You think you're better than us?" Maddie stepped forward, smirk pulling at her lips. "Walking around here like you own the place." Aaliyah shifted her weight, ready to walk away. But Maddie's hand shot out, clamping onto her arm. Brooke stepped closer, shoving her shoulder hard. The milk carton slipped from Aaliyah's hand, bursting on the floor in a splash of chocolate that spread across the tiles. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. "Oops," Sierra giggled, eyes flicking between her friends. "Guess you're clumsy." Aaliyah bent down to pick up the carton, but Maddie's hand was suddenly at her throat. The grip wasn't enough to choke her unconscious, but it was firm enough to make breathing harder. The cafeteria fell silent. Some kids froze. Others raised their phones, recording. Not a single person stepped forward. Aaliyah's pulse thudded in her ears. Her vision narrowed, not from panic, but from a deep, simmering anger. She had made a promise to herself when she started here: no fights. No showing off. Keep your head down. Her mom had been clear: don't give anyone a reason to single you out. But Maddie's nails dug into her skin. The laughter from her friends felt like gasoline on a fire. Her eyes locked on Maddie's. "Calm. Steady. Let me go." Maddie smirked and tightened her grip. And in a blink, Aaliyah's hand shot up, trapping Maddie's wrist in a joint lock her MMA coach had drilled into her 100 times. She pivoted on her heel, pulling Maddie's weight forward, and used her momentum to send her stumbling back. Maddie gasped, coughing, shock replacing her smugness. Brooke lunged at Aaliyah without thinking. But Aaliyah dropped her stance, sweeping her leg low in a clean arc that knocked Brooke's feet from under her. She hit the ground with a loud thud, eyes wide. Sierra froze, torn between helping her friends and running. "No," Aaliyah's voice was low, even. "I'm done being your victim." Flashback, the making of a fighter. Long before she came to Brookridge, Aaliyah had already learned how to survive. Her father had walked out when she was 5, leaving her mom to raise her alone. The neighborhood they lived in was rough, the kind of place where trouble found you whether you were looking for it or not. At 9 years old, she met Coach Derek, an old family friend who ran a small MMA gym in a converted warehouse. The first time she stepped onto the mat, she felt awkward, out of place. But Derek had a way of teaching that made her feel powerful without making her dangerous. "MMA isn't about hurting people," he'd tell her, tapping his temple. "It's about control. You fight to end fights, not start them." For years, she trained boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She learned how to throw punches that could break ribs, kicks that could knock someone out cold, and locks that could make even grown men tap out. But more importantly, she learned restraint. Restraint that was being tested now. The weeks of torment. The cafeteria incident didn't stop Maddie and her crew, it made them worse. They started posting pictures of Aaliyah online with captions mocking her skin tone and hair. They bumped into her in the hallway, accidentally spilling drinks on her clothes. They whispered things just loud enough for her to hear. And the hardest part? Some teachers saw it and looked away. At night, Aaliyah would lie awake staring at the ceiling, her fists curled tight. She could end this in seconds if she wanted to. But ending it the wrong way could ruin everything: her mom's trust, her record, her chance to compete in tournaments. Then came the day everything broke. The locker room ambush. It was late after school. Aaliyah had stayed behind to work on a science project. By the time she headed to her locker, the halls were nearly empty. The smell of bleach hit her first when she stepped into the locker room. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead. And then, click. The door shut behind her. Maddie, Brooke, and Sierra stepped out from behind the row of lockers. "You embarrassed me in front of the whole school," Maddie said, walking forward. "Now it's your turn." Brooke moved first, swinging her arm toward Aaliyah's shoulder. Aaliyah sidestepped, catching her arm and guiding her into the lockers with a hollow metallic bang. Sierra charged, screaming. Aaliyah ducked, grabbed her hoodie, and used a hip throw to slam her onto the floor. Finally, it was Maddie. She threw a punch with all her weight. Aaliyah blocked it, hooked her arm, and spun her down to the ground, pinning her with ease. Her voice was calm, almost cold. "This ends now." She let Maddie go and walked out, leaving all three of them stunned into silence. The aftermath. The story spread fast. Maddie tried to twist it, claiming Aaliyah had attacked them. But videos from the cafeteria and whispered accounts from other students told a different story. For the first time, the fear around Maddie and her crew cracked. They weren't untouchable anymore. Aaliyah didn't become popular, but she earned something better: respect. The lesson. Strength isn't just about fighting back. It's about knowing your worth, refusing to let anyone take it from you, and standing so tall that those who try to hurt you have no choice but to back down. YouTube closing, call to action. If you felt Aaliyah's courage in this story, tell me in the comments, what would you have done in her shoes? And remember, this is Be Kind Always. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us kindness is strength.